Yeah, a gentleman walking around with a gun in the store.
That's the call to 911 dispatchers that alerted Beaver Creek police.
Is he got it pulled out?
Yeah, he's like pointing at people. He's like loading it right now.
Well, the people of Ferguson, Missouri continue to call for a special prosecutor to investigate the shooting death of Michael Brown. In Ohio, there's been a special prosecutor appointed to investigate the death of 22-year-old John Crawford III. Crawford was shot and killed by police in a Southwest Ohio Walmart last month. Police in Beaver Creek, Ohio were called to the scene following that 911 call you just heard, in which a shopper said Crawford was pointing a gun at people in the store. Police say they repeatedly asked Crawford to put the gun down. They opened fire, and Crawford was pronounced dead at a local hospital a short time later. It turned out he was carrying an unloaded BB air rifle that is sold by Walmart. He had reportedly picked up off a store shelf. Police released dash cam video from the incident along with emergency dispatch recordings, but authorities have declined to make public a surveillance tape from inside the Walmart showing the events unfold. Ohio Attorney General Mike DeWine did allow members of the Crawford family and their attorney to view a portion of that tape. That attorney is encouraging DeWine to release the tape to the public, but DeWine has declined to do so, citing worries it may hinder prosecution of any defendants.
I think that it is playing with dynamite, frankly, to release that tape at this point.
Okay, but now another person has come forward saying he too has seen the surveillance footage. And his name is Ronald Ritchie, purportedly the caller in the 911 tape you just heard. Ritchie tells reporter John Swain of the Guardian newspaper that officials in Ohio Attorney General's Bureau of Criminal Investigation showed him the footage. As the Dayton Daily News reports, a spokesman for DeWine declined to confirm whether Ritchie had seen the video. Days after the shooting, Ritchie spoke to local reporters about what he witnessed inside the Walmart.
A black gentleman walking up, holding what looks to be an AR-15, called the police, waving at people, waving at little children, waving the gun.
But a month after giving that account, Ritchie has now changed some of the details of his story. So what is his story now? Joining me now is John Swain, correspondent for The Guardian. You talked to Mr. Ritchie. What's changed?
You heard in that 911 call he used a specific word, pointing. He repeated
which is what's scary, right? I mean, if someone calls you and says there's a guy pointing a gun, that's...
It sounds like a deliberate act. It sounds like someone who is choosing to point this weapon at people in the store. He repeated that word to reporters afterwards on the scene. Now, I spoke to him last week and really wanted to press him on what that meant, because, as you saw also, he was using the phrase waving it around. And in the course of speaking to him for several minutes, he sort of recanted on the word pointing. He said at no point did he shoulder the weapon and point it. He was, however, waving it around. Now, the Crawford family's attorneys denied that as well, we should say, but...
Yeah, they say he wasn't even waving it around. Also, if it's a toy gun that you have in a store, I mean, you can imagine a whole bunch of ways that you would hold it that, you know, is not pointing it at people.
The Crawford family's attorneys and Mr. Crawford's father have viewed the footage. They say what they see is Mr. Crawford only moves the BB gun once in a significant way. They say what it looks like is it got heavy to him. He maybe slung it over his shoulder, then returned it to his side. They said they've seen this footage. They don't see him pointing it or waving it around in the direction of anyone.
There's also this matter, and it's not the most important thing, but there's a matter of his service. The people, everyone. I remember the report being, "Oh, he was a Marine. He was a Marine," which lent this kind of credibility or gravitas to his account. He was only in the Marines for 7 weeks, right, before he was discharged?
That's right. He, on the scene, gave every reporter the same account, that he was an ex-Marine. You know, we thought it was worth checking out. We asked the Marines for his service record. They gave it to us, and it was only 7 weeks long. Now, they wouldn't comment on why, but when I spoke to him, I asked him, and after some persuasion, he didn't really want to talk about it, but after some persuasion, he confirmed that it was, for what the Marines concluded, was a fraudulent enlistment. What happened was they discovered a heart condition 7 weeks into his training or into his service that they said he hadn't disclosed. He says he did disclose it, and that his recruiting officer didn't put the paperwork.
So the point is that he was a Marine for 7 weeks.
That's right.
Okay. So you've got this. I mean, the details of this are so horrible and maddening. This young man, John Crawford III, was killed for no reason. I mean, he posed a threat to no one. This phone call, it seems, was made by someone perhaps misperceiving the threat or ill-advised. But the key thing here is there's video of the whole thing.
There's video of the whole thing, and I spoke to Mr. Crawford Sr. and their attorney at length about what's in this footage, and I spoke to them separately to try and...
We've spoken to them here too.
You've spoken to them.
Yep.
They maintain that John Crawford moves from one aisle where he picks up the BB gun to only one more aisle, the pet aisle, and he stops. And
he's on the phone.
He's on the phone to the mother of his children, and his father says he stops, and he's so still that when the father viewed the footage, he thought the footage had paused or there was an error, and he says to the technician, "What's going wrong?" And the technician says, "Well, it's still running, look at the timestamp." And he says, "You know, how can my son have been judged to be posing a threat when I thought he was standing still? I thought the video had stopped."
And you have a special prosecutor now, but what on earth are they doing showing this video to Richie?
So I should make clear, Richie claims he's seen the video. He said he's actually seen it several times, and he says that officials in the Attorney General's office showed him when they were interviewing him, when they were taking a statement. As you said, the Attorney General's office will not confirm that. But it is clearly unusual and strange that an eyewitness, who you'd expect to give a statement based on what they saw and what they remember...
and who you could then independently corroborate against a video, would be shown a video that could possibly then taint their memory, not for any even nefarious reason. People integrate those things into their recall.
Exactly. So if confirmed, I think that would be very unusual, and Mr. Crawford's family's attorneys have said they're very unhappy about that, have complained and want that confirmation.
And they want that video made public.
Well, this is it. You know, Mr. Ritchie says his account will be borne out by the video, but Mr. Crawford's family and their attorneys say, we've seen it, we want it out there. And you have to think, if the video showed their son in a bad light, why would they want this out there?
All right, John Swain, Guardian US, thank you very much. That is all in for this evening. The Rachel Maddow Show starts